So part of it is the distraction machine that has kicked into high gear to focus attention away from the Epstein files and from this increasingly negative blowback. I don't know if these manifest destiny messages coming out of the Department of Homeland Security are strategically coordinated with this, or if it's just the ongoing racist, white supremacist, most basest stuff coming out of this regime. But now, from official government social media accounts, is coming this vile white supremacist propaganda. Robbie, I know you were paying attention to this stuff, this kind of white pioneer propaganda. Tell us what you saw and why that's disturbing.
Yeah, well, I mean, my last book, The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy, this is right on target for this, this messaging. So one of them hit like while I was on vacation, and then the other one more recently. But just two images I'll describe quickly. But they both showed up on official DHS X accounts, right? And so one of them is this white pioneer, young pioneer couple. They're in the back of their wagon and they're holding this newborn baby. They are very, very white. And in the background, you can see another wagon, and they're on the prairie, right? So it's clearly this westward expansion, colonizing motif. And then, of course, in the foreground, not so subtly, is a sewing machine and, of course, a Bible with a cross
Bible.
on the front of it,
Hmm.
right? Right there in the foreground. So it's got kind of, whiteness, kind of pronatalism, colonization, manifest destiny. But what's chilling about it is also that is how they sloganed it. They didn't just like throw it up there. They put a slogan on it and they said, "Remember your homeland's heritage." Now, you know, that "your" in there is a pretty dead giveaway to who they think are real Americans, right? And who they think, whose heritage they think that our government's Department of Homeland Security is promoting here, right? Jamar, that's not your heritage showing up in that little wagon there. It's certainly not Native Americans' heritage showing up in that little wagon there. In fact, it is like the beginning of the end of Native American sovereignty that they're portraying and celebrating the destruction and colonization of Native American lands there. And then the other one is very similar, and then I'll kind of turn over to you guys for comment. But the other one is maybe even more on the nose. It was posted just a day ago as we're recording this. It is a painting by a guy named John Gast, who painted this painting in the mid 1800s, and it is called American Progress. It is also called The Spirit of America in other renditions. But they published this one with this tag: a heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending, and they give the name American Progress, John Gast. The painting depicts essentially it's this spirit of America that's depicted as this very, very white Roman goddess looking woman. It's the spirit of Columbia, which is kind of the feminized spirit of Christopher Columbus, which was very popular in the 19th century. And she is floating above the plains. New York City is off on the right-hand side. She is flying eastward over the plains. And in her right hand, she's got a school book. And in her left hand, she has telegraph wires that she is literally stringing along from east to west. And below her, I mean, this has got like packed everything in it, are three railroads ferrying new settlers west, a stagecoach, the Pony Express, two wagon trains, some Midwestern farmers fencing in land, and a log cabin, all of this kind of coming in her wake. And then ahead of her, in a darkened third of the frame on the other side, are these indigenous people who are like leaning away from her in this kind of like fearful way and thinning herds of buffalo, including kind of bleached skeletal remains of buffalo dead on the plains, with dogs picking at their bones, all running away from her. That's the image, right, of American progress that our Department of Homeland Security is posting in 2025, right? This is something that was, in mid 1800s, right? We're talking like, decades and decades ago when, and it was painted during the period of Indian removal. In
It
the
was a very popular painting.
Yeah.
Prints of it in people's homes. I mean, in magazines. I was looking over there to see if I could find one that was a book cover because lots of American history books use it as a book cover
The
to
AP
talk
American
about.
History book has it the current version that high schoolers are using right now has this painting in it. Yeah.
Yeah. But say something about the words.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. So, again, it's just quite striking here that when you look at the those words, not just the content of them, but this one people have been commenting on, it deliberately has 14 words that it uses in its description here. And again, it says a heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending, American progress, John Gass. That's 14 words. And heritage and homeland, the two H words, are both capitalized. Now, for those of you who know anything about the far right and white supremacist groups, there is this thing called the 14 words. And if you go to the Anti-Defamation League or the Southern Poverty Law Center, they have references to this. This is a known thing that 14 words, it's the most popular white supremacist slogan in the world. And if you just say the words 14 words in white supremacist circles, people know what that is. The 14 words that it refers to is this slogan: we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. So you can see why they're wanting to echo that. But I mean, this is an explicitly white supremacist, uh, like wink and a nod that is coming out of the official DHS. It's really just sickening and chilling.
I want folks to understand that this whole immigration thing is about reinscribing white supremacy in the 21st century. It is part of this whipped up anxiety about white people, people of European descent in the United States, uh, going extinct and being erased. And that's part of the pronatalist movement. They want people to have babies. Not everybody. No, no, no. Only the right people or the white people to have babies. And they want to use ICE and so-called border control, border security to kick out the people who they think are taking up space from the white people. So it's not just about who they're removing, who they're abducting. It's about who they want to expand and grow and repopulate the place because that is what we've been saying for more than a decade, for a decade since Make America Great Again came on the scene.
Yeah, that's right.
When was America great? And what made it great in these folks' opinion? Well, it's not coincidental that it was white expansion, this idea of manifest destiny, which, when you break it down, manifest meaning obvious, apparent, clear, and destiny meaning divinely ordained and certain. And the
Yeah.
idea with manifest destiny, which was right along with white westward expansion, was that this is a God ordained growth of the people, the culture they bring, and the families that they're going to have. And this is good for not only the nation, but the world. So it's always been part of it if folks had eyes to see and ears to hear. But now the masks being pulled off. Ironically, the masks go up on the ICE agents, but the masks being pulled off on these social media posts, they're just blatantly displaying it. And what I'm concerned by is A, social media is ephemeral, so people think it doesn't matter as much, that it's not weighty. And then two, that the messages are historically based enough that a lot of everyday people won't understand the full significance and import. What I would say is, yeah, social media is ephemeral, but they use it to communicate true intentions. and true ideology. And two, we don't have an excuse not to know this history because A, it's readily available, and B, it's part of our responsibility living in a democracy or what's left of it to know this history and to hold our government accountable when it's openly supporting white supremacy. I'm incensed that this can happen so casually.
Yeah. And if you look at the
And
whole, oh, go ahead, Diana.
I was going to say, and it's interesting how this sort of, I mean, you pivoted from Epstein to this, as part of the distraction narrative. But the distraction narrative is working on the white supremacy sort of theme from a variety of levels. I mean, there's these memes which were so as soon as I saw them, I mean, it's obvious what was happening, and I hate the misuse of history just on a very basic level as a historian. This is a very particular vision of history, which is more propaganda than it actually is history. And so that's a very important thing for people to remember. These are not images of what was true. They were images that were telling a narrative about what a certain population imagined America to be. So that's a really important piece of it. So there's the subtleness of that in terms of history and propaganda and using the ephemeral to be putting this stuff in people's consciousness. But then there's the obvious, which is Donald Trump sitting in the White House and using white supremacy as a way of trying to distract from Epstein by calling on Barack Obama to be arrested, and him creating or putting up or whatever it was on his social media of AI generated video of him and Barack Obama in the Oval Office, and then FBI agents coming in, arresting the former president in the most vile sort of fashion and putting him in jail. So you see Barack Obama sitting in an orange jumpsuit in prison. This is all, I guess, again, AI created content, and it's being done by the music of YMCA. So it's this, sort of poppy, Trump's favorite song. Why the Village People haven't sued Trump to this point, I have no idea. But so that's also the use of white supremacy calling back that base to say, hey, you might be upset about the fact that I'm not releasing these Epstein files, but let me tell you what I am doing. And what I am doing is the Obama narrative, of course, is the destruction of the memory of America's only Black president. And that was always the deepest motivating factor of Trump's run for the presidency anyway, is that he wanted to destroy Barack Obama. That's been his purpose in life since at least a decade. And now to go and appeal to that in this brutal and vile way when he's in trouble is a way of calling back his most racist supporters, saying, see, look at what I'm doing. And don't worry, I'm not going to jail here, but he is. And so be on my side because you know who I am. I'm the one who's bringing back the real America.
And you read about fascist movements in the early part of the 20th century, and this was like the beginning of kind of propaganda studies, right? That kind of use of modern media, film, radio, imagery, posters in kind of Nazi Germany and Italy to kind of move mass opinion, right, and shape memory, reshape memory, and tell a story about a glorious future and all of that stuff. I think what we're witnessing right in front of us is the modern contemporary version of that using social media and AI, right? So 20, 30 years from now, when scholars are writing about this period and they're writing about propaganda, this is the stuff they're going to be pulling out and saying, yeah, just look at this social media feed, right? And on the one hand, it's got video of brown people being separated from their families and thrown violently into unmarked cars. And then right behind that, this calm picture of white pioneers giving birth to a baby on the prairie, right? And then let's go to another video of some more brown people being roughed up by ICE. Oh, and then we'll go to John Gass and his portrait of the spirit of America and American progress. And it is always, as
Right.
propaganda always is, it's not only about kind of casting an innocent future, but it's about sanitizing violence, right? And really erasing the violence. Like that John Gass painting, is like all you see of indigenous people is them sort of like just walking out of the frame, right? You don't see bodies of indigenous people. There's bodies of buffalo, but not of indigenous people, right? So it hides the genocide, it hides the violence, and it desensitizes us in a way. It makes it an innocent story of progress, rather than a story of conquest and dominance and violence justified by a violent version of Christianity.
What's so chilling about all of this, in the midst of the Epstein files, in the midst of these AI generated images, these manifest destiny, as we look at history, white supremacy wins out in US history more often than not. By which I mean, given the choice between a president with known associations with a pedophile and sex trafficker, someone who, we don't talk enough about the grift. I mean, he is enriching himself for generations through the presidency and the misuse and abuse of the office. And someone who is the most bellicose, basest kind of human being there is in that office, and drawing that out in the populace. Given the choice between all that and someone who promises a white supremacist vision of the future, they'll choose that white supremacist vision of the future. And then they won't name it that, most people. There are some increasingly vocal about it because there's no consequences for it. But
Right.
what they'll say is, well, we need law and order. We need safety. We need economic stability. We need English as the primary language. All of these, Christianity needs to be the religion that's practiced. They'll use all these proxies, but when it boils down to it, it's a white supremacist vision of the nation and reality. And when given the choice between all these factors of corruption and criminality and immorality, and someone who promises this white supremacist vision, they'll choose that vision. Not everyone, but the people with enough power to make it happen tend to make it happen. And we've seen this
And
pattern throughout history. And that's what's really
Shamar,
chilling and disturbing.
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to
That's,
interrupt.
I'm done.
But you just made me think about the fact that, I mean, let's put it out there, is that when Trump put that video out of Barack Obama, he was saying, okay, so maybe I was associated with a pedophile, but I'm still getting rid of the black man. And so you laid out those, when given the choice between the grift and this and that and the other thing, when given the choice between pedophilia, the thing that they have said for the last decade that was motivating them to support Donald Trump, when given the choice between pedophilia and white supremacy, they're going to follow, they're going to get rid of the pedophilia. They're going to ignore pedophilia and keep following the guy who's promising them white supremacy. And I'm sorry, as a human being, we can even lay the fact of being a Christian human being aside for a second, but as a human being, I have nothing for that except for disgust. I mean, that is where that lands. And I'm sure you had just a horrible reaction to that video of Obama. I saw that and I cried.
Mm.
And of course, then I was thinking as well about how all that leaches over, into for women. And
Yeah.
I kind of I what in the world ever led me to think that those same people would give any space for Kamala Harris to be elected president of the United States, when they wouldn't even give space for Hillary Clinton, you know, to be. And so it's just, it's unspeakable. It's vile. And they're gonna bury pedophilia in their quest to maintain white supremacy.
Well, like you said, Jamar, I mean, this is not a new story, right? I mean, what have we buried in the name of holding on to white supremacy in American history? I mean, what have we not been willing to sacrifice on that altar? The bloodiest war we've ever fought. Uh, uh, Hundreds of thousands, 600, 800,000 people died in the Civil War, depending on the estimate. We were willing to sacrifice that much blood, right, for one side to try to hold on to white supremacy and enslaving others. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing is that, like, if we're going to get a better future, we're going to have to realize, like, I think we're going to have to stop saying, oh, this is not us. We have to say, yeah, this has been us. This has always been our struggle. And like we're gonna have to find enough of us to stop choosing that, right? And to choose something else. And this struggle between a pluralistic democracy and an ethno-religious state, an ethno-religious theocracy, has always been, I think, the choice that's been put in front of us. And it's not been one, it's gone back and forth. And sometimes we have made the right choice, but it always has kind of come back. And I do think that the most powerful thing that Trump is offering people, is with that MAGA slogan. We were all talking about this when it first came out. Like, it's nostalgia. It was really just about saying, actually, we can go back.
Right.
We
And
could
that's
forget. We could forget all this history, and we could just go back.
I think about all the lectures I gave over my career in the last 15 years where I literally said, you cannot go back.
Yeah.
Where I was talking about nostalgia and how dangerous it was. And I would stand in front of rooms of people and just say, you can't go back unless it's a Star Trek episode. That's the only place where that happens. And literally, this is what it all has been, is that they are rolling back time and taking us to, but that's the odd thing about time, is you really can't do it unless it's a Star Trek episode, because what they're doing is they're rolling it back, but linking it with the most powerful tools that technology has ever even begun to imagine. So it's a very futuristic mechanism by which they are doing their nostalgia. And it's also with the richest people who have ever lived in the history of the world. And so that's the real new piece of it. They're rolling it back, but they're rolling it back with wealth and technology that is beyond human capacity to really understand where it's all taking us.
I'm glad you said that, Diana, because I keep telling folks, don't say history repeats itself. I say history rhymes. Right. Where there are patterns, right? So we can't go back. Too much has changed, too much different, too much is contingent. And like you said, two of those factors that have changed are the wealth involved and the technology involved. So I think that's a perfect example.